Taiji is an open-world puzzle game developed by Matthew van der Vander that is heavily inspired by Jonathon Blow's The Witness. Inspired by, in many ways, feels like it might be too light a term. Taiji is in essence a Witness-like. It's a game with a mysterious feeling open world, but where the puzzles are all based on 2D flat screens, and while they vary in concept, they all function in the same way. Just like how in The Witness the puzzles were all solved by drawing lines, in Taiji the puzzles are all solved by highlighting patterns on square grids. Taiji uses an isometric viewpoint to show off its steep mountainous world and uses it to great effect in the feel of the game. The flat, fixed angle camera layers aspects of the environment on top of one another, which hides new places from view and makes the world feel a little more secretive. It adds to a sense of mystery and exploration and gives Taiji an opportunity to wow the player with a reveal of new puzzles or places. Taiji has 9 main regions spread about its map, each with its own distinct visual design and feel, and of course with its own take on the grid-based puzzles. I'm give or take on the character design, but I really like the appearance of Taiji's world with a neat art style and cool blend of the very natural and very industrial. The backgrounds are mostly still, but with just a few animated details here and there to bring it to life. The map of Taiji is fairly small and easy to navigate with the game's fast movement speed, but with how you slow down to navigate through the puzzles of each area and how the regions are hidden about the map, it never felt small as I was exploring. The sound design is also very good. Relaxing vibes to me are ideal for slow, thinky puzzle games, and Taiji's music delivers well on that front while keeping the mysterious ambience of the world, and it's coupled with satisfying sound effects from the environments and the puzzles. And those flat panel puzzles are clever, abstract challenges which either work as standalone concepts or neatly tie into the environment around them, again like in The Witness. And also like The Witness, there's a strong meta puzzle element of not just solving the puzzles, but also figuring out what each puzzle is. Every screen is a grid of tiles that you can turn on or turn off, and that's it. Some combination of lights on and lights off is the solution that you'll need to get to somehow. The only other interaction with the screen is to mark tiles with a purple glow, but this is just a quality of life feature a bit like the flags in Minesweeper. When you arrive at a panel, you'll either get a plain grid or one with a few markings on it, but that is it. In each area there's a new type of puzzle, but there's never any explicit instructions to explain what it is. You're given a grid, some markings and the environment around you, but the actual logic of what squares will create a solution is something that you'll have to deduce for yourself. It is tutorialized, you're given simple puzzles where the solution is very easy to stumble across, but from there you're expected to infer the logic and apply it to future puzzles. And you probably will, but as you progress through each area, more details and rules come into play to add complexity, and so the puzzle of the puzzle is something that doesn't really stop. There are layers upon layers of mechanics in each version of Taiji's grid-based puzzles, and you're given them and have to learn them without ever really being taught. The first puzzle in the game is fairly self-explanatory. There's a 2x3 grid next to a 2x3 arrangement of blocks, and you transfer that pattern from the blocks onto the grid. It's a simple way to teach what the grids do while also making it clear that players should look at the environment. Seriously, look at the environment. It was never told what you had to do, and while it is simple in this introductory sequence, when the puzzle looks as arbitrary as this, they do become much more of a challenge. There are the puzzles with the shapes, with the lines, with the dice, with the patterns, the puzzles that look at the environment, the puzzles that interact with the environment, and a few combinations of the different types. All I can really say about them is that they're all distinct ideas which are clever and satisfying to solve, but I can't really talk about what those ideas are because that is part of the challenge. Figuring out the rules was almost always very entertaining, and once I knew what was going on, the puzzles were really good to work through as well. And just like in The Witness, the puzzles that were more meta or tied into the environment were always really interesting to see. But I can see how this type of puzzle would be annoying for some people.
Because I don't like trying to solve something when I don't know what it is I'm supposed to be solving.
Even I at times was annoyed when the game lacked clarity because I wanted to test if I understood a rule, but the only way to test a rule is to submit a solution and see if it was correct, and if it wasn't, it could be for any number of reasons. It was at times very difficult. In fact, there were a couple of sections where the enormous, mighty boss battle of a puzzle that marked the area's finale was easier than some of the build-up puzzles, because in order for it to be solvable, it had to have a logical progression that you could build through to the solution using the rules you learned, whereas the smaller, early puzzles that taught the rules almost felt like they required guesswork and reverse engineering. While frustration is a common part of puzzle games and an inevitability of puzzles that are smart enough to be satisfying when you solve them, it definitely is a slightly more nagging frustration when it's because you're not quite sure how a puzzle even works. Like after solving some basic entry puzzles involving die faces and then seeing this, where the 2 in the top left is drawn differently to all the numbers before, and there is nothing to do other than guess what that might mean, which took way longer than it should have. I felt like there were a couple of hiccups at the start of 2 or 3 sections where there wasn't quite enough of a logical leap between 2 consecutive puzzles, and some minor sub-mechanics probably could have been tutorialized more effectively. But once I did get past those stumbling blocks, I thought Taiji was excellent. I've had my eye on this game for a while during development, and happily I was not disappointed, and I would very much recommend Taiji to other puzzle game fans. If you played and enjoyed The Witness, I think you'll be interested to see a new interpretation of similar ideas here in Taiji. And if you haven't played The Witness, you can for sure still play this game, but I also think that going and playing The Witness now would be a reasonable thing to do as well. I always think there's something quite interesting about playing the classics of a genre, and I reckon in the world of puzzle games, The Witness certainly is that. While Taiji is a Witness-like, it very much holds up as its own game. I think the design of the puzzles was really neat and the world was densely packed with interesting designs and secrets. This was a game that I did really enjoy playing and exploring, and one that I would definitely recommend.